Well, good morning to you all on Wednesday the 5th of March. Well, to the possible permanent damage to millions of Australians and small business, the Reserve Bank continues its obsession with small surges in inflation and the belief that you've got to keep jacking up interest rates. Or in its lingo, a further tightening in monetary policy. Why? To secure an inflation rate of 2 to 3% over time, they say. Now, it should be pointed out the Reserve Bank gives the impression that inflation should never be allowed to move outside the 2 to 3% range. That's not correct. The Reserve Bank's charter is to contain inflation within the 2 to 3% boundary, and I quote, over the business cycle. Now, having admitted in its statement yesterday that there was an annual CPI increase of 3% in the December quarter and underlying measures around 3.5%, surely over the business cycle means there could be times during the cycle when, for perfectly good reasons, the inflation might for a time be permitted to nudge ahead of the 2 to 3%. And there are good reasons for this kind of flexibility. May I suggest the first is it's not always easy to explain what's happening to inflation or where. There's absolutely none of it amongst the mortgage belt in New South Wales, that's for sure. They've got nothing surplus to spend. How have we reached this point where we've got this blind faith in interest rates to contain inflation? Interest rates last went up on the 6th of February. Statistically, that increase won't kick in for 6 months. Before that on November 7, that hasn't kicked into the statistics. Before that on the 8th of August, that hasn't kicked into the statistics. And now another one on March 5. Nothing in the Reserve Bank statement about recessions or unemployment. Too bad if this draconian nonsense drives business out of business, people out of their homes, and Mr Rudd's favourite working families out of work. Of course, starving business and families of cheaper money in an overheated economy will cool it down. But where's the overheated economy in New South Wales? And if it's an overheated economy, why is Mr Rudd insisting on shoving $30-odd billion in tax cuts into it? The government accelerating the economy while the Reserve Bank applies the brakes. How does that make sense? Or is the government going to take out of the budget in May the money it's going to give out in tax relief? So people in Struggle Street will suffer in the budget as well as suffering and being belted up by the Reserve Bank. This is ridiculous. In January 2002, the Australian dollar was worth 51 US cents. Today it's 92.5. That's an increase of 80% in the value of the Australian dollar. Given that the majority of our imports are priced in US dollars, and the cost of our imports in US dollars have therefore fallen 80% due to the increasing value of the Australian dollar since 2002. How could that be inflationary? Or are we now being told that the benefits of a stronger dollar are not flowing through to the consumer in lower prices and not subduing inflation? So the consumer's getting bashed up there as well. And we know he is in the retail sector, the Woolworths factor. So 12 consecutive interest rate increases. Interest rates the highest level in 12 years, and no one in Canberra capable of managing the economy other than to rabbit off the jargon of the Reserve Bank and Treasury. We didn't elect the Reserve Bank or Treasury to run this country. We elected Mr Rudd. And if the only answers he's got are those scripted for him by the Reserve Bank, then put Glenn Stevens in charge of the country, or the Secretary of the Treasury, Ken Henry, who's actually on the board of the Reserve Bank. It's clear that the government has no other strategy. If the fallout from all of this is as it might be, then Mr Rudd may well blame the previous government for what he inherited, but he has no one to blame for the ham-fisted way in which the problem's being managed. It might be time for those who are being ripped off to take off the rose-coloured glasses. They may well have elected a government full of rhetoric, but with little appreciation of reality. I'm Alan Jones.